I had a great idea for a bar idea, because Jake and I are going to start a bar at some point. That's our dream. The Very Reasonable pub. And my idea was like, no pubs, no bars, you can't smoke in any of them. So we make a place that you could smoke in, you know? But the problem with that is that you kind of attract a bad clientele when you smoke. Like, you kind of attract, you know, kind of old men, more abusive people, I would say, if you want somebody who really wants to smoke inside. So our policy, right, is if you're like abusive or cruel or mean to the staff in any way, you have two options. One, you could be kicked out, right, and you're kicked out and you're banned for like a week or something like that. Like, there's some sort of punishment. Or two, and this is the more creative one, whichever server, bartender, whoever like you were abusive to, they get to put a cigarette out on you. That's the punishment.
I have one flaw with your plan.
What's that?
The reason that nobody can smoke in bars or restaurants is not a policy thing. It's against the law.
Well, yes, I know that, but also the law is a fluid concept. You know that, Jacob.
It's a piece of paper, and it says you can't smoke inside.
It's very fluid, and we can change things, because there's certain places.
I think your best bet is interior beer garden, where it's like, you know what I mean? Like, the building is like a picture like a or a square, but the middle of the square is like a donut, so it's hollowed out. So people can smoke inside. You have heaters there, and then people can smoke in there.
And
it's outside.
Listen, I just want to make sure our bartenders and waitresses and stuff can put cigarettes out on dirty old men who are
so
like
that's
mean
your plan.
To them.
You don't really care about smoking on people. You want people to, because you can't even. That's also illegal. That's a crime. That's assault.
Yeah, but it's like those. It's like
you
those.
Can't just sign up for assault. Like, I can't.
Yes, you can.
I can't be like, no, you can't. I can't just sign a piece of paper that says that Charlie's not allowed to put a cigarette out on my arm.
Like, it's like that restaurant where if you don't eat the whole burger, they paddle you. They like beat you. They smack your bottom with a big paddle. You know that restaurant. I forget the name of it. It's in LA. It's like the cardiac arrest burger. And their thing is like, if you it's like 18 pounds of meat, and if you have a heart attack while you're eating it,
I'm
you
not
get
sure
to eat
about the legality
food.
of that, but I am sure that like causing burns on someone's arm is going to lead to legal issues, regardless of what contract you sign.
Well, that's why I get you to write me a foolproof contract.
Charlie, before we lose all of our money from these incoming lawsuits, you should start the podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. I'm your host, Charles. Along with me, as always, my co-host, editor, producer, co-pilot, gunner, navigator, orator, and podcasting associate, Jacob Gloth. How you doing today, Jacob?
I am swell, Charles, and excited for another episode of the podcast. We pitch new TV shows every single week. New storylines, new characters, new worlds, all that jazz. We come up with all this stuff every single week and package it into a little pilot TV show that we relay to you for all your listening glory. And this week, Charlie, you've come up with a new but old show.
Yes.
An older show that you had many episodes ago.
Many
over
moons ago.
250 episodes ago. I think it was episode like 34 God. Or something like that.
Damn,
you wrote a show called Punk Rock Vampires.
Yes.
Which I don't really remember too much about what it was about, but it was like vampires and they're in a rock band or something.
It is one of my great shames, that show. If people, well, occasionally I'll bring up that I have this podcast and I'll talk to people. And you know, if somebody gives a shit, they'll ask me like what my favorite show is. And I'll never have a really good answer for them, because I like so many of our shows. But they'll also ask what my least favorite show is, and I always have the answer, and it's always Punk Rock Vampires. I really don't like this show, because I decided that it would be really funny and cool and clever of me to get really high on marijuana before I recorded this episode.
On sandwiches, Charlie. We talked about this last week.
On sandwiches. I ate too many sandwiches before I started recording the show.
Last week too. You had too many sandwiches.
And so it's really not a good episode. And so I decided, in true Punk Rock Vampires fashion, to totally fucking half-ass this episode. You're getting a quarter of a cheek. That's how
really?
half-assed
so
this is.
you look back at your greatest failure in the history of this podcast, and you thought, I'm going to one-up that one and do
Yes.
even worse this time.
That was my plan. So,
Okay. That's not what I would do, but okay.
the show opens on a van that's driving across the Midwestern landscape at night, right? And we see on the side of the van, we can see PRV just written, scrawled in like red paint, right? And we see this van just chugging along, and we can kind of hear murmuring coming from the 4 individuals inside the van, right? And so the van kind of comes to a stop, and they've run out of gas or something. Like the van has stopped working, right? And so the 4 characters in the van, they clamber out, right? And they all start taking a look, and we can't really make out any of them specifically, but silhouetted, we can see that they all have instruments on their backs, right? And they're making vague references to blood and to the sunlight and stakes and other things like that, right? And they get back in the van after like fiddling with stuff underneath the hood. And we see them trying to start it up. And while they're trying to start it up, we can see kind of in the background, we can see a light. And the light appears to just getting closer and closer, right? Slowly, but it's still getting closer. And so we then, they try and start the van again, and it doesn't start again. And then there's this big argument that these 4 characters are having inside the van. And we can't see inside the van. It's just, we hear it, We can see the van kind of jostling around a little bit as they kind of get more animated in the argument. And we see this light getting closer and closer in the background, right? And then we notice something odd. The van seems to be stuck on top of these tracks. And then we see the light coming closer and closer, and we realize the light is a train. And just as the audience realize that the light's a train, it blasts through the van. It absolutely murders all 4 of the original punk rock vampires.
What?
They're dead. They've been slaughtered. That's right. I didn't want to have to listen to the original episode, so I just murdered all 4 of them in the opening sequence of the show. And as this train plows through, we see on the top of the train there are 3 characters, and they're all playing instruments. They're playing Banned in DC by the Bad Brains as quickly, as fast, as hard as they possibly can. And we've met the new punk rock vampires. They didn't know about the other guys. It's a coincidence that there are 2 vampire bands named the Punk Rock Vampires. First guy, the lead singer and lead guitarist of the band, Alistair. He is 327 years old. He is an overconfident moron who truly does believe in the unifying power of music. And when I was thinking about this character...
Is his name Alice Stair, or is it Alistair?
Alistair, but he says Alistair because he's got like a goofy fake European accent, So he says Alistair, but as you or I would say, it's Alistair. Yeah, and when I was coming up with him, I was kind of thinking of Matt Berry's character in What We Do in the Shadows. That was who I was thinking about. So kind of like exuberant, guy, a little Rubenesque, right, in his figure, but he's charming, and he's very confident and charismatic, and he's got a booming, beautiful voice that does not suit punk rock at all, but he makes it work. His voice is that of an opera singer, but he decides to sing punk rock music and punk rock lyrics instead. And then our second character is named Ellie. Ellie is the drummer and the quote-unquote muscle of the group. She was turned into a vampire when she was around 15 years old, so she is a small, diminutive 15-year-old girl. But she is in actuality 413. She is the oldest of the group. She is a cynical, cruel, and mean woman who does really actually care about the bond of friendship that this band represents, because these 2 guys are kind of the only people that she has in the world. And so while she has that kind of like tough outer shell, she does truly care about these guys. And that'll come through every once in a while in the show, but she's definitely the most vampiric. She's the one who kind of like is more overcome by the terrible hunger of the vampire, of the creatures of the night. You know what I mean? And I'm watching a vampire movie right now. Not
Like
actively, but you know what I mean.
No,
yeah, I said it. I was accurate. Called Let the Right One In, which is a Swedish vampire movie, and that's kind of who I based this character on, is the vampire in that movie. It's played by...
Does he have a Swedish accent?
No, she's a 13-year-old girl, or 12-year-old girl.
Does she have a Swedish accent?
Yes, and Swedish. She speaks Swedish.
Okay.
So, yeah. You know what? Ellie can have a Swedish accent. You're right. That would be good. And our last character, Bram.
I didn't say good. I just asked a question. It could be bad.
No, I think
Swedish
it'd be
accents
good.
aren't the most endearing. So.
No, but Ellie's not the most endearing character. She's kind of an asshole.
Okay.
Just like Ellie in The Last of Us. Also kind of an asshole.
But she's endearing.
She's endearing in the first game. She's not endearing in the second game. She stabs that pregnant woman to death in the second game. You remember that?
I don't remember that because I didn't play the second game.
I didn't either, but people were talking about it online.
Okay.
I remember all of the pregnant women that Ellie stabbed in that game.
All one
of them. And our last main character is the bassist and Jiminy Cricket of the group, Bram. He is 37 years old. He was turned into a vampire quite recently. He is a very average, like, normal guy. He is quiet, he's very contemplative, he's still coming to terms with his, like, immortality and the fact that he's, can't go out in the sun, and the fact he'll never eat food again. He's still coming to terms with all of this, but he values his friends, the band, quite a bit, because they're the ones who've been helping him transition from his life as a mortal to his life as one of the undead. And he still cares about humanity. He hasn't, like, gone over the edge like Alistair or Ellie in terms of being like, oh no, I'm a monster. Like, I'm a vampire. I'm a crazy kooky monster, But those are our three main characters. We've got the opening of the show, of course, which is the original punk rock vampires being murdered. And the train that they ride around the country in is called the Punk Rock Pioneer. And it stops in this small, dusty, southeastern town, like New Mexican town, at night. And the train, like, kind of shudders and breaks to a halt in the station of this town. And they realize that this train, it ain't moving without, like, some serious mechanical help. Right, and so they go to the mechanic in this town, a 24-hour mechanic. You'll be surprised at how many things in this universe are 24-hour, because I don't feel like coming up with reasons why everybody is waiting around for the punk rock vampires to show up. So he goes to the 24-hour mechanic, and they talk to the mechanic, and he says, listen, I'm totally willing to fix up your train, even though it's going to be a lot of work, and I'll do it free of charge. But you have to do me a favor. And the punk rock vampires are like, okay, sure, I guess. I mean, we can't just pay you, but, what do you need? He's like, I need you to make sure my daughter has a good prom. And so the punk
I was going to guess it was his daughter's birthday.
Yeah.
I was close in my head.
Almost. So the punk rock vampires then endeavor, they go around town, trying to secure all of the things that you need for a good prom. And so we kind of do like a pseudo montage of them going around town, and they first get the venue secured, and that involves like scaring the shit out of the venue, like the organizer, because they had something else booked in for that night. But the punk rock vampires are very persuasive when it comes to getting what they want, especially Ellie, who is again terrifying. Getting food secured, sound and light equipment secured. The sound and light equipment they're able to provide because they actually usually do all of the prep for their own shows, and so they keep all of the stuff on the train. And so they get like this whole thing set up, and we have this fun montage of them putting together this prom venue, and then we look out at their work, and we see this awesome, like, really cool sort of like goth-esque prom situation all set up, and it looks awesome. And they're really proud of themselves and happy with how it all turned out. And then they turn around and they see the principal of the local school, right, standing there, and he's got like his hands on his waist, right, and he's tapping his foot, and he's like, "There's gonna be no prom in this town. I have like made it illegal to have a prom," sort of Footloose style is what we're going for.
Okay.
And so they are kind of like trying to figure out, like, how can we, convince this guy to let us do prom, and they come up with all these ideas of like, oh, we can bribe him, we can, hypnotize him, all this fun stuff, until eventually Alistair decides that no, I think that the way to deal with this is honesty. Honesty is the best policy always, except for when I don't want to be honest, basically is how he thinks about it. And he goes to the principal, and he in his office, and he makes this massive impassioned speech about the importance of shared experience for adolescence, and how like prom can really be an opening for you to transition from being a teenager into being an adult and all this stuff. And we then hear the principal give his tragic backstory in which his son was killed in a prom-related accident that happened. Wait, no, it's a prom-related triple homicide that occurred 6 months after his prom 3 towns over. And so the punk rock vampires are kind of like, I don't really think that I don't know if prom had anything to do with it. And the principal is adamant that prom had everything to do with it. And then we cut to Bram, who then he comes at it with empathy, and he comes at it like, please, sir, like, don't allow the tragedy that befell your son and your family, right, to affect the lives of all of these young people in this town who just want to have fun and dance and party. And then we look over after we hear Bram's like impassioned speech, and we see that Ellie has torn the neck out of the principal and is currently drinking his blood as she stopped paying attention and really got thirsty. And so we then cut to the punk rock vampires performing at the prom, and their faces are all covered in blood, and they're doing an original song that we would probably get some actual musicians to write, because I mean, you've written a song for this show. I've never written a song, and I don't think I could write a song. Rhyming, I get very confused at rhyming. It scares me.
Yeah, rhyme something with orange. Quick, Charlie.
Orange.
Perfect. Nailed it.
Yeah. Fuck. But yeah, they perform, and they have a great show, and everybody has a great prom. Everybody's getting laid like you did at your prom. Right, Jake? We both got laid at our proms.
This is a weird conversation.
And then the punk rock vampires, they get back on their train. Turns out it didn't actually require a lot of mechanical work. It required one switch to get flipped. So they're able to leave that same night that they did the prom. And the show ends with a janitor walking into the principal's office and finding the principal has had his head ripped off, and his body has just like been torn to pieces, torn asunder, blood and guts everywhere, and written on the walls in blood is the PRV, the punk rock vampires. And then that's the end of the show. That's the end of episode 1, Yeah. I have a few more episode ideas locked and loaded, but if you have any, feel free to participate in this podcast that we do together. As you so often do. No, you always participate. No,
this is how this works.
Of course not.
It's your turn. You talk, and I
don't know what you're talking
comments.
about. I would never dig at you, Jake. I don't even have a shovel.
I was gonna make a similar joke.
All right. The next episode I have is the gang has a battle of the band, and I was trying to figure out what would be comparable to the punk rock vampires, and I landed on the acid jazz werewolves. So we we have a massive battle of the bands between the acid jazz werewolves and the punk rock vampires. So the way I was thinking that the episode would be set up is the first half of the episode is like an actual battle between the trio of vampires and this trio of werewolves that they like actually meet, and we could have a fun, cool, massive, like actual cool werewolf battle with blood and guts and gore until they all kind of realize like, hey, we're all musicians. Why don't we make some money off of this? Because that's what all musicians are greedy. I don't know if you knew that, Jake, but all musicians are deeply greedy people. That's why they
pretty greedy.
That's why they do music, which is the most like financially rewarding thing that you can do with your time. And so they have a battle of the bands. The acid jazz werewolves are boring. Their music is very dull. They do not win over the crowd, whereas the punk rock vampires, they inspire a lot of, you know, excitement and joy and revelry among this crowd of hardcore music enjoyers. And that results in the acid jazz werewolves being chased out of town after their slow, melodic, acidic jazz music is not really appreciated by the punk rock crowd. And I have the B plot for this episode being that Ellie falls in love with a local butcher, like a butcher's assistant, because she's 15. And so she starts this relationship with this guy who's like, he's a butcher's assistant, and she's just like, and then by the end of the episode, she realizes actually she didn't like him at all. She just liked that he was covered in blood constantly. And so she leaves him. And he is slightly heartbroken, but you know, he buries his pain and sadness in the soothing melodic tones of the acid jazz werewolves. And so, you know, really who comes out on top at that, in that situation? Because it ain't Ellie. Her ex is listening to her enemy's music. And it's not the acid jazz werewolves because they've been chased out of town. And they don't have a cool train. They just walk. Because, you know, vampires, they have money. Werewolves don't have money. That was another thing that I had problems with in the first season of Punk Rock Vampires. Why were they all poor? Why did I decide they should all be poor? Like, I get punk rockers are poor, but vampires, like, every character in that show was, like, well over a couple 100 years old. Like, why didn't they have any money?
Stupid. I mean, they blew it all, you know? Rockers are not known for being frugal.
No, so. Well, this is true, but they all lived in a van together.
And they're also, like, you know, do you think rockers are gonna invest their money in a portfolio? I mean, people that are retired and stuff and have, like, business managers, they do that. But, like, I could totally see, you know, a bunch of reckless musicians all stuck at, like, a young age, like, never really mentally mature.
Yeah, I guess, Jake. You know what? You've turned me around on it. I'm actually a phenomenal writer, and Punk Rock Vampire Season 1 was a great show.
Yeah, I'm skimming through the transcript of it right now, and I wouldn't say
don't. That. Oh, there's gonna be so many ums and uhs and like no, terrible. And my next episode idea is the punk rock vampires. They arrive in Los Angeles, and the whole episode takes place across one Los Angeles night as they are like hopping from party to party. For all these musicians, and each party's like a different genre of musician, different genre of like weird, cool LA party, and they're being hunted by the local record producer magnate, Van Helsing. That's right, oh. Van Helsing is a record producer, so it's like he's gonna have a weird relationship with the punk rock vampires where he likes their sound and he wants to produce their records, but he also wants to murder them all with stakes. And he's obsessed with baby oil because, you know, it's 2026. P. Diddy. We have to make a P. Diddy joke about things. Jake, we feel the need. We feel motivated to make a P. Diddy
joke.
We're
going into the boys' territory. Is he just gonna have a bunch of baby oil in the closet?
He's not gonna have a bunch of baby oil. He's just gonna have he's gonna have like a hand sanitizer squirt bottle with baby oil, and he's just gonna rub it into his like face and hands every chance he gets. And it's going to be the ending is he grabs onto the punk rock vampires, trying to grab him and get him, to come with him back to his mansion so that they can record a single or get murdered. The punk rock vampires aren't sure, but his hands are too slippery from the baby oil, and the punk rock vampires are able to escape from him and his wicked grasp. But he will become the, like, antagonist for the show as he, attempts to find them and sign them and then stake them. Ooh, fun. But yeah, that's the TV show. That's Punk Rock Vampire Season 2. I think this episode is a lot better than Punk Rock Vampire Season 1, I have to admit.
That's a low bar, so, it certainly it has to be.
It kind of has to be, yeah.
I am impressed, that... Actually, I am disappointed that you didn't go back and listen to the original episode, because that's what I wanted you to do. That was the whole basis of me giving you this, is that you would have to go back and listen to it.
I know it was. I know you were just trying to torture me.
And you didn't do it. You just made up a whole new show.
Yeah.
So that's kind of annoying. I think what I should have done is I should have told you to reboot the original show.
Yeah. That would have been a reboot would have been more difficult to half-ass listening to it. I have to admit.
Wasn't there a character in the first Punk Rock Vampires? Maybe you can't remember. But like someone that was thought the vampires were vampires and was like trying to expose them. Like the character was essentially like, if you've seen Phineas and Ferb, it was like Candace trying to expose her younger brothers to their mom. And this character, I think he was like a gym teacher or principal or something like that. I can't remember exactly. Or a cop, maybe. I can't remember. And he was trying to expose the punk rock vampires as vampires. I could be completely wrong here. That might be another of your shows where there's somebody that's like constantly trying to expose the leaders. But you could have something like that in this show. Either bring back that character if that character does exist. Or
create
just like a reoccurring villain that's like trying to expose them as vampires. And they have the same line as the people in the first Punk Rock Vampires, which is like, no, we're just a punk band that this is just our gimmick, that we're just pretending to be vampires.
Yeah, we just pretend to be vampires. But they aren't pretending.
And like when we complain about the sun or like don't like garlic, like that's just us. That's part of the act. And like there could be a scene where like they get like burned because of the sun or like garlic or something like that. And they like pull out like magic powder or something like that or makeup and be like, come on, like this is all part of the gimmick. Do you not see this?
Yeah. It's called cocaine. Duh, idiot. We're musicians. We love this stuff. It's our favorite thing ever.
Actually, he's got a very serious skin condition, and he has a rash from the leather jacket he's wearing.
Yeah, he's actually allergic to faux leather, and everything he's wearing is made out of faux leather. So, I'm gonna need a lot of baby powder. I'm gonna need a lot.
That's why they have all the baby powder and the baby oil.
Exactly. You need the baby powder and the baby oil. Isn't it weird that we have two things named after babies, and neither of them are made out of babies, but B, they do completely opposite things. Baby oil makes you the slipperiest that you could ever possibly be. Baby powder makes you the least slippery that you could ever possibly be. Very strange.
Do you have a lot of experience with these?
I worked in a restaurant, so I did work I worked in a restaurant one time where they had in the men's bathroom, the men's staff bathroom, they had a thing of baby powder that they just somebody had written on it with Sharpie gooch powder. So there have been a few times where you give a little of baby powder if your gooch is goochin'. You know what I mean? I've never had any.
Well, thank you everyone for listening to the Original Pilots podcast. I have been your co-host, Jake. Charles has always he's here, I guess.
I'm here. I did a show.
That was our episode this week, Punk Rock Vampire Season 2. It was very entertaining. Next week we'll be back with another TV show for your listening pleasure, which will be called, Charles, you have to give me a title this time.
Oh, geez. Pick a title between 1 and 4. I'll
go 4.
Okay. Jesus for Mayor. That's the name of the show.
Jesus for Mayor. Okay.
Jesus for Mayor.
I thought you were starting with an exclamation at first. Jesus. And then
Jesus.
just for Mayor. Okay, so Jesus for Mayor. Okay, so I guess this could be many things. I could have actual Jesus Christ running for mayor.
Yeah.
I could have like sort of a Life of Brian scenario going on, where it's like some guy that's oh, that'd actually be funny if I did like a Life of Brian TV. Oh, maybe this is my idea. Well, I'll give the listeners a hint in case I forget this. But my idea that just came to my head is if you've seen the movie Life of Brian, it's like the guy that's born right next to Jesus in the manger, and then he like it's his life after that. And I would do here is like a guy that was born like was also born in Bethlehem at the same time as Jesus, and he was named Jesus because that was a really popular name, and he's trying to run for mayor of Jerusalem or something because and he's trying to like just sort of take like Jesus's fame and like sort of build off of that, you know?
Yeah.
Kind of just like a con man sort of situation.
Yeah, I like it.
Those are my first initial ideas for Jesus for mayor.
Can I tell you my initial idea was a like Parks and Rec style show. Like that was what I was thinking when I came up with it, was Jesus actually comes back, but he's like, I'm not like, we're not here to end the world or anything. I just wanted to like hang out. And so he gets a job at like, he runs for mayor of this like very small Midwestern town, and he just deals with like Midwestern Americana, which I think would be funny. Oh, Jake, do you want to know what my first idea for the Punk Rock Vampires Season 2 was?
What's that?
Because I think you would have liked it a lot. I was going to have pretty much the same opening. I was going to have the Punk Rock Vampires do a performance, and then at the performance, they are slain by Jimmy King, and I was going to turn it into a Jimmy King show.
That would be ridiculous.
But I was like, no, I can't just associate Jimmy King with the Punk Rock Vampires.
Your favorite
I really
and
can't.
your least favorite properties coming together.
Yeah, I couldn't do it. It'd be like fucking Super Smash Bros. We should do a Super Smash Bros for all our characters. That would be so
closest we have
funny.
to that is my legal TV show that I had.
Yeah.
Where it was all of our characters going to court, and they were defended by Dr. Page and Bearman, attorneys at law.
Yeah. You know what? I'm gonna come up with some. I'm gonna think about who of our protagonists and antagonists we would want to have as characters in a Super Smash style.
The issue is that there's a lot
TV
of people that are just kind of like. I have a lot of people that time travel, so that's kind of OP. There's a lot of super scientists and time travelers.
And superheroes and
a lot of superheroes and occasionally gods.
Mostly it's just guys though. That's my problem. Is like Super Smash Bros. Is like there's Kirby and there's Mario and there's fucking like Solid Snake and shit. Like there's everybody's like different shapes. Most of our characters are just kind of like guy-shaped
think of it like Marvel
people.
versus Capcom. Most of those are just people.
Yeah. Most of those are just dudes. We'd have Isaac Illich, Jimmy King, Captain Weird, Dr. Destructinator, Kyle the intern. He would be like a support character. He wouldn't be
he could be like, you know how sometimes like characters will have like a second, they'll like do a special move and it brings out another character who just like punches somebody.
Yeah.
It'll be like one of Captain Weird's is like moves, just brings out Kyle and he just like, I don't know, throws a microphone at the character.
Exactly. He like trips. He takes like a really long microphone and he trips whoever they did the move against, and they fall over. And then Captain Weird like drunkenly stumbles and falls on top of them, and that's his move or something like that. Detective Smoke from House of Malice. I think he should be there because he has cool powers. If we could do one where it's that chick from Biological Horrors or whatever it is. And then she could have like a secondary like Pokemon trainer style where she like pulls out different monsters. Yeah. You said you need to leave. I'm just chatting. Yeah. All right. Thank you everyone for listening to the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast, and please enjoy the rest of your day. We love you. We'll talk to you later. I am your favorite podcast host, and Jake's your favorite co-host. And we'll see you soon. Goodbye.